press record. All right. So this is 20 questions with Nate Herman. Nate, I can't say how thankful we are to be able to Skype with you, and the kids are really looking forward to it. Let me put you in full mode here. We're really excited about the opportunity. I've had a chance to spend some time with the kids and talk to them about the things that you do. And like I told them, I worked for the Department of Conservation before I became a teacher. Now it's the Department of Natural Resources. And I was a wildlife interpreter. And the last time I got to do what we're going to do on May the 4th, be with you, is when I was fresh out of college working for conservation, and we used backpack shockers back then to do sampling of streams. And since then, I've never been able to do that. And so to be able to be a part of understanding what an ecosystem really looks like in the dynamics of being able to see the different populations, it's exciting for me, and it's a once in a lifetime for them if they don't end up going into that field, which who knows what they'll do. But it's a tremendous honor. The format is this. Each student will come up. They have a series of questions. We have a little bit of time here, probably looking at about 40 to 60 minutes. From there, if you have any questions or just want to expound on something that you just want to impart on them, that's really awesome. Or maybe tell them a little bit about your background and how you got to where you're at. Along with that, anything that you can think of to help them prepare for the 4th. And I don't know. It'll be great, and each of the kids will go back and forth. When we're done, we always like to take a giant selfie with our guest, and so all you have to do is smile and look into the camera and give the old big thumbs up, and it'll be good. And so each student, not kid, they're not kids anymore. Each student will identify themselves, kind of tell you what grade they're in, and then they'll fire away. And if they go on tangents and ask different questions, that's okay too. They're really excited. They've been doing this for a while, and to be honest with you, they're excited to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I'll give you a straight up. I'm a little intimidated talking to a full of people that are probably smarter than I am.
No.
I do have some experiences, so they may have me in knowledge, but I've got a little bit of experience.
No, we all learn from our experiences, and that makes us who we are. And so, very excited to get this started. So if you're ready to go, we'll get started.
Yes, sir. Let's get it rolling.
Awesome. Thanks. First up is Connor. Yay, Connor! Hey.
I hate your pun. Hey, Connor. It's nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you too.
Hey, Nate, before we get started, just realize he's going to crack a few puns on you he's the punniest guy we know. So, I'm just telling you, be prepared.
Gotcha. Well, Connor, I've got a question for you to get started.
Okay.
Is there any sort of Skype etiquette for introductions? Typically if it was you and me talking, I'd be shaking your hand, with a good firm grip. Is there anything established for Skype?
No, I don't think there is. Would you like to establish something?
It's like this.
What's up, man?
Nice to meet you.
All right, so go ahead, fire away. What's on your mind?
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to ask you, so you have a very interesting career. I wanted to ask you how you got involved with that career and what made you decide to pursue that.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I can tell you what comes to my mind right away is just the passion and excitement that I had about, fish and fishing just all growing up. So I always knew, I wanted to do something with that. But I grew up in a construction family. So my great-grandfather started a construction company back in 1949. And so I grew up, at the age of 11 years old, spending my summers sweeping floors, carrying lumber, tearing shingles off of roofs, all the construction laborers types of jobs. So I grew up doing that and just kind of transitioned into, building custom homes. And I loved it. I was good at it, but I didn't, I knew that's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my, career. So when you're a carpenter or a construction worker, you actually do a lot of side jobs. So you have your 40, and just interrupt me if we lose connection or something like that.
Yeah, keep going. We still got you.
Gotcha. So grew up, doing that, and then you make your money when you're in construction work. You make your money on the side. So you work 40 hours a week for your company, and then you go out and get side jobs, and you tear off shingles, build decks, docks, all that stuff, and that's where you make money on nights and weekends. Well, for me, I wanted to start doing side jobs, helping people with their lakes. I grew up on a 3-acre pond, and I learned how to kill algae, and I learned how to pick up around the pond and stock some fish and just some basic stuff that really there's not much literature about. So I started helping people from my church who would have farm ponds, start helping them with some of their stuff, stock some fish, clean their beach, kill their weeds, and started doing that as my side jobs. I didn't know a ton about the science of it, but I was so passionate about it that I dove into it full bore. So I started going to a lot of seminars and workshops all around the country, started meeting, the top professionals in the field. And when I would meet them, I wouldn't meet them by becoming a leech to them and just only asking all the questions I want to know. I would figure out, how can I be of value to this person? And how can I learn from them, from their experiences, what they're doing, and be an asset to them to where they're going to want me around. And so when I did that, that's when I was able to learn from the best fisheries biologists in the entire country, and became their friends and became an asset to them, not in the moment, but even long term. So now my mentors have become, I guess they're still my mentors, but colleagues, so to speak. Now we're bouncing all the ideas of, for us, the main part of what we do now is grow big fish. So that's mainly why people hire us to do what we do, is to grow big fish in their bodies of water. But with all of our experiences behind that, we can help them do anything they need on their recreational property. So we get in there to grow the big fish, but we end up building their docks, their decks, their water slides, their beaches, lodges, cabins, trails, food plots. We've got a lot of experiences doing all that stuff, and then what we learn from one client, we just put it in our memory bank, put it on the file, and take it to the next client. So we've been real fortunate to get some good clients, and that's where we talked a little bit jokingly at the beginning of class, is we've got a lot of experiences, and we just glean from the experiences, take them to the next guy. So I can go on a good rabbit trail. I'd have been a good teacher. Students would have liked me, because I remember being in school, the best thing to do was get the teacher going on a rabbit trail. Class kind of flows, and you get through it.
Oh, that definitely doesn't happen in here. No way.
I can't imagine. So by 2007, we had enough clients built up where we were doing lake work that we officially started a lake management. Actually, we called it pond management. We started Herman Brothers Pond Management in 2007, and didn't know what we were doing. There wasn't very many pond management companies in the country, and there definitely wasn't very many or any in the Midwest. So we kind of had to educate people that, hey, this is actually a business. This is a job. This is a real business. So we spent a few years educating people on that, and things have really just kind of escalated from there.
Alrighty. Well, thank you.
What? That's all you got? No puns or nothing else?
You answered a lot of my questions with just that one.
Say that.
Well,
Um,
take a brief second. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who am I talking with?
My name is Connor Wolf. I'm a junior here in Mr. Ritter's ecology class. Our ecology class, we do pretty much everything from, shocking lakes to raising jellyfish to doing Civil War projects. We do everything, and it's all because of our lovely teacher Paul Ritter that we get to talk to excellent people like you.
Well,
You called me by my first name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
Make him
Ritter.
run.
First name Mr., last name Ritter. I'm sorry.
gotcha. No problem. I tell you what, pay attention to that stuff because whatever you end up doing for your career, it's going to be your experiences that you learn across the board, like jellyfish and Civil War and shocking lakes. That's going to make you, it's going to give you a leg up on guys that really just don't have experiences. Experiences are very important.
Okay.
And so, hey, it was great talking with you. And Connor, I'm looking forward to shaking your hand on May 4th.
Alrighty. Let's see.
No puns?
No puns. I can't think of
I
any.
even had one. I
What?
had one too.
Yeah.
Fishing for more.
All right, I'm gonna leave the puns to my classmates here, and I think I'm gonna send up the next person. So nice to meet you.
You got it. Thank you.
I'm not saying any puns. I'll leave that to
Tell me your mom.
Hi. I'm Molly, and I'm a senior this year.
Well, it's great to meet you, Molly.
Oh, yeah, just shake your hand. And my question was, what is your favorite part about your job?
Oh, man. Okay. Simple answer is I absolutely love electrofishing and doing what we're doing on May 4th. Sorry about that. Doing what we're doing on May 4th is just getting a glimpse of what's going on underwater. It's fascinating to me. The unknown, or just it's kind of like a different world underwater. Getting in that world, getting a glimpse of what it's like, and then figuring out how to make it better. So that part I love, but a long answer is I love the variety. So we do different things during different seasons. So electrofishing, we'll start that down south in the end of March, and we roll all the way up north to about mid-June. And then it's my favorite thing to do, but if I had to do that every single day, it would get a little mundane. So I love the variety. Then when we get into mid-June, we start filming lake life and building lakefront. That's when we build a lot of our docks and decks and water slides and fun stuff. And then come fall again, we're back into electrofishing and stocking fish. And that's, another 2 to 3 month marathon that look forward again to, like you take that break in the summer and then you just really look forward to it again. And then in the winter, back to construction type stuff and ice fishing. So we take a lot of people ice fishing. So I guess what I love about my job is the variety and just the new stuff, the new challenges. Every client has a unique opportunity to figure something out, and that's what's great.
That's cool. And you mentioned lake life, so I was wondering, how is it to have your own TV show and be on one?
Well, let me just tell you, it pushes you to the limit. For me, believe it or not, I was the most shy guy in my high school class in terms of speaking in public. So my biggest fear growing up, all through school, was oral book report day, speech class, and even sitting right there in that seat talking to somebody up front in front of the class was and is my biggest fear. So to have a TV show come in and just put cameras in front of you, to be honest, my brothers still make fun of me pretty bad to this day. I couldn't even remember my name. I work for Herman Brothers. It just, everything was a stumble. It was pretty embarrassing, and so it's been exciting for me to kind of, I still got butterflies this morning, just getting ready to talk to you guys this morning. So it was kind of exciting for me to overcome one of my biggest fears. And so that is something I'll be working on, forever. But that's what's exciting about lake life. And it was crazy. We're just doing our thing. We take things to the limit a little bit, like we make some fun videos. I think you guys have seen some of them. And we're putting that online of feeding fish underwater and stuff like that. And production company, just out of the blue, they just sent us an email and said, hey, we think you guys would make a good TV show. And we're like, I took the email that they gave me and I put it right into my junk mailbox, because you get what's called spam all the time. Put it right in there, didn't even answer it, just moved on. Well, they sent another one, and I looked into it. This time I wasn't quite as busy when it came through. Looked into it, said, hey, it might be a real company. Sent it to my brother Justin, and told him to research it. And so he started looking into it, and I walked in the office one day, and he was doing what's called a Skype interview. And I had never heard of Skype interview before, but he's talking to some guy in New York. And so I walk in, they're like, hey, come talk to this guy. I'm like, what do you mean talk to this guy? You're in there talking to yourself on a computer, So I just, walked in and started talking to the guy, and they're like, hey, we want to come out and make what's called a sizzle. We'll come out, we film you guys for a couple days, and we make a 3-minute sizzle, and we shop it to a network. And if the networks like it, they buy it, and you make a pilot episode. So we made they came out, they filmed us doing what we do, they made that sizzle, and we never heard back from them from 6 months. And we're like, oh, whatever happened to those TV show guys? I don't know, what happened to them? We didn't, whatever, move on, we got stuff to do. Well, out of the blue, they called us up and said, hey, we found a network that bought your show, and they want you to make a TV show. So we put our brains together, came up with a couple projects. They came out and filmed 2 pilot episodes. And first, with the sizzle, they said, you've got a 1 in 100 chance that a network will buy this. We make sizzles all the time. That's what we do. We're trying to find a show. We make them, we shop them. Most of them don't ever go anywhere. But cross your fingers, it's worth a shot. Well, the network bought it. Well, then we move on to the pilot, and they say, hey, you got a 1 in 100 chance that they're going to buy a season 1 based off of a pilot. But it's an opportunity, make a couple shows. It's pretty fun. So we did it, and the shows came out, and they rated really well, and it was like the next day they ordered a full season 1. So we started filming season 1, made 11 episodes, and they said most shows die after season 1. They, that's your full chance to try it out. Well, it wasn't a couple weeks later, they ordered a season 2. So that was pretty exciting, and we filmed all of that last summer, and now this summer, so then all those episodes will play May 3rd. So the new season will start May 3rd, and then they're already making plans for season 3. So actually, before I jumped on with you guys, I'm working with the network guy. They need to turn in some proposals for 8 new builds by Friday, and that's not easy to do. But they're working on the network to get season 3, which is really exciting for us. I mean, we're not actors, we're not TV people. We didn't grow up in the industry. We're just real people, and they're making a TV show about us. So it's kind of cool.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me, and I'm going to turn it over to...
Well, actually, Molly, I didn't get a chance. You said you were a senior.
I am.
And you got plans after high school, or what's going on? You got to give me a little bit about yourself, too.
Yeah, I'm going to Illinois State University, and I'm doing a double major in business administration and finance. And then I'll also be working at State Farm while I'm going through college.
Well, that's pretty dynamite.
Yeah.
Have you been to the State Farm Recreation Center over in Bloomington?
I have not yet.
Oh, man, you got to go check that out. It's pretty fun.
Steve just said it was really nice. He works there too.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, well, it was great talking with you. I look forward to seeing you here in just about a month.
Yes, thank you.
Hi there, Nate. My name's Megan Heller, and I'm a senior.
Nice to meet you, Megan. We'll do a fist bump.
Okay. So my first question is, what is your favorite kind of fish that you like to see?
Oh man, my favorite kind of fish is anything that's not ordinary. So around here in the Midwest, bass, bluegill, catfish, crappie, carp, those I can't say they get a little boring to me. I like them. Don't get me wrong. But I love the fish. I love yellow perch because they're not that common around here, and I love to eat them. So for me, I'm a conservationist. I am a good steward of the land and the lakes, but I love to eat fish. And most people don't put those two. Let's see. I don't know a good. They don't put that together. That you can actually enjoy. That you can actually enjoy what you're managing for. So that goes kind of along with hunting as well. So a lot of people are either anti-hunters or they're for hunters or hunting, but actually hunters are the best conservationists, and it's kind of like me with fish. Like I am the #1 fish advocate, but I love to eat fish. So you got to just learn which fish to eat, when, why, and how to make more fish to eat. So yellow perch, that's my favorite because I love to eat fish.
What are you gonna look for whenever you come to shock the water?
All right, so we definitely take a scientific approach to our lake management, but scientific approach doesn't necessarily pay the bills, so to speak. So what I'm going to be looking for, and I'll explain on that a little bit, what I'm going to be looking for is I'm actually going to be asking the owners a lot more questions, kind of like not necessarily manipulative or in disguise. I'm thinking of a better word, but kind of, it's not like I'm just going to sit there and drill them with questions, but I'm basically, while I'm there, I'm interviewing them the entire time. So the whole time I'm there, I am interviewing the owners and trying to learn how they want to utilize this body of water and what they're looking for and what kind of results they're looking for, quickly. So my business, I've got to get results pretty quick. So everything else is kind of in the background. I mean, you got to know the water quality, you got to know the vegetation, you got to know the fish dynamics, you got to know all that stuff, and you got to know how to answer all of their questions. But the most important thing I'm gathering is information from them, because we could manage their bodies of water completely different depending on who the owner is and what they're using it for. So in this particular case, they're using it for a fishing club. So I got to learn all about their club, all about their members, all about how they use that body of water, and then create a management plan that helps them be entertained and have fun with their body of water, so that they have their members happy and they can make a business out of it, and a successful business out of it. So that's kind of like the background of what I'm looking for, is to learn about them. I'm interviewing them, I'm learning about them, I'm asking them questions, and then we will create a management plan. Now, we do need to take some water quality samples. We got to identify the vegetation. We're looking for the fish population. We're looking for what's there. We just need to establish a baseline of the amount of predators, the amount of prey, which would be the forage, and then the fish that are in between that aren't really, the top end or the low end, and figure out where that fits with their club. Then moving forward from there, we figure out what fish they should harvest this year and what fish they should stock to make their membership in their lake happy. So that was kind of a long answer. I'm good at long answers.
I actually am. My family just built a house on the lake that we're gonna be shocking. So, but I'm gonna be on the opposite side of where we're at.
Hey, so then I'm gonna ask you questions like, tell me a little bit about the history of this lake. How do you guys use the lake? What do you get excited about? Like, do you swim? Do you just fish? When you fish, what do you like? I actually ask you what baits do you like to use, so I can set up a fishery based upon the type of fishing you like to do. So if you like to use just topwater lures, and that's the thing that gets you excited, we can help you create areas where you can go topwater lure fishing. But if you like to just crappie fish with some jigs and a minnow and fish from a boat, we'll find out how to set that up as well. Or catfish fishing. You look like a catfisher woman.
I don't really fish, but some of my friends come out and I'll help them out and stuff. So
You do need to learn it because when you have friends out, you want them to catch something.
yeah.
She suntans.
Gotcha. So yeah, we'll want to figure out, where's the best way to block the northwest wind, coming across the pond, and yet still catch sun, even when it's 68 degrees outside, and you'd be cold if you were sunbathing in the wind, but you would be warm if the sun's out and the wind is blocked.
Yeah.
So you could even think about things like that on how to best utilize your lake for every weather condition.
Well, that's all I have for you.
So you can even sunbathing. You can even manage for sunbathing.
Yeah.
So that's the part of client expectations, that we can help them with all kinds of little tips, tricks that we learn from our experiences. But so you're a senior this year.
Yes.
You're building a new house on a lake.
We actually moved in December, so we haven't been out there in the summer yet.
Well, that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't lived on a lake before?
No.
Oh man, you're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go to college?
Yeah. I'm going to Olivet Nazarene in Bourbonnais.
Well, that's kind of awesome.
And I'm gonna run track there. So.
That's really awesome. There's a guy that works for me that is on the swim team up there, and they just won the national championship.
Yeah, they're very successful, and they've only had their swim program for a few years. In 2013, they opened a new recreation center and brought swimming, so they
that's
built it
pretty
pretty
awesome.
quick. Yeah.
So.
Cool.
His name is Austin Bennett, and if you have any questions about Olivet, I can get you two connected, and he can answer any questions you got.
Okay, thank you. I'm
Yep,
going to
great
turn
to
it
meet you.
over to someone next. Nice talking to you.
I don't care who goes next.
How's it going? My name's Jacob.
Jacob, it's great to meet you. What do you got on your sweatshirt there? It's kind of a little fuzzy.
This would actually be WJEZ, which is a local radio station. It's for our broadcasting. So essentially what that is we film the sporting events and other things around the community and broadcast it like a TV show.
And so that's something you're actively involved in?
Not so much recently, but yes.
Hey, that's pretty awesome. That's some pretty awesome experience right there.
Another thing that you might find interesting is that I'm actually on the bass fishing team and went to state a couple of years ago for that.
That's really exciting. So what else am I going to find interesting? If people are talking about you, what are they going to find interesting besides broadcasting and fishing? I mean, those are two pretty good things, don't get me wrong.
I collect fountain pens. People like that find that interesting.
You know what? That is actually pretty interesting. What's the most expensive fountain pen you have in your collection?
$125 with $50 ink. So.
And how long does it take to go through $50 worth of ink?
About a year.
Hey,
Oh, that's just one bottle. That's not cumulative amount.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty sweet.
Yep.
That's pretty sweet. Well, what you got on your mind today?
The biggest question I wanted to ask was, when examining bodies of water, what can you expect to find, or should I say, what should you find, and what's the most common issue that you would find?
Okay, so in most situations, people are looking for a natural balance of fish that complement each other. So, forage, prey, and predators. And when people fish, they like to have a lot more bigger fish, top-end predators, than small-end predators. But what happens, the most common thing that happens in ponds and lakes in Illinois is largemouth bass actually outproduce, they out-eat their food chain. So they get too numerous. It's called stunting. There's too many bass, too many mouths to feed, and not enough food to feed them. Which is kind of interesting because across the nation, there's a thing across, like if you grew up in the fishing world, you hear catch and release, especially on bass. So if you eat a bass, people will look at you like you are the worst thing that ever happened to the fishing industry because you're a bass eater. And so it's the best way to manage bass populations and to grow bass is to actually selectively harvest. You hear me say harvest bass out of the body of water. But the common knowledge and the common, like rally cry from all the bass fishermen is catch and release, catch and release, catch and release. And they can't be any further opposite from each other. So it's that's a hurdle to overcome in managing, especially private bodies of water. So a public body of water, you do need to manage differently than a private body of water. They're not the same. One body of water where you have hundreds of people fishing every weekend is different than a private body of water where you and your family fish a couple times a month. There's a big difference in how you manage those, but there is the literature doesn't make any separation between that. What's being preached is catch and release, catch and release. And what I have to educate the client on is you absolutely have to harvest this amount of fish or you're going to end up growing, which is the state average size bass, 11.75 inches. That's not going to win you very many tournaments. That's not going to get you to state. You need, you need 18, 19, 20, 21 inch fish to get to state. And those aren't average. Those are way above average. So of all the lakes that we've electrofished and all the fish that we've put in our charts, and if we make a cumulative list, we're right at about 11.75 or 11.77 inches is the average adult bass in the state of Illinois. And that's pretty small. It's because there's too many of them.
Where we're going to be electrofishing here, I think you'll find that you're going to have much larger than that on average because they keep it pretty well maintained.
Hey, that's awesome. But keep in mind, with that 11.77 average, that's electrofishing some very, very good lakes, where on those lakes, the average may be 16.5 inches, of adult bass. And that's not keeping into account, 4, 5, 6 inch young fish. That's bass, 8 inches and up. So to get that average, we're actually, we do some that are way above it and way below it. And then, then you've got that average. So, but yeah, no, it's very, I guess you can't say it's very easy, but it is very possible to grow a much bigger average on your largemouth bass.
And I've been fishing there for a little over 8 years, so that's why I'm kind of familiar with it.
And what's, I'm going to just interrupt you. What's the biggest bass you've caught from there in 8 years of fishing?
It was almost 7 pounds, and it was, I forget the length, but it was mostly girthy instead of lengthwise.
Gotcha. Hey, that's a great sign to see because a lot of times on those big fish, it's a big head, skinny body, and long, whereas you're talking the short and fat. That's what we like in the fish world.
And then they also have a really healthy smallmouth population too, but it's a bit harder to fish. But they do grow to be pretty large. So
hey, that's exciting. That's a fun bonus. That's a fun bonus to have. So when you're out there catching, how often are you catching a 3 to 5 pound bass? Is it every time out or a couple times a year?
I'd say since I've been going there for so long, they usually congregate in a particular area where like the larger fish usually are. So we'll go to those spots like periodically throughout the day because they only will be out at particular times, and then usually we'll get a few under the 3 pound mark, but it's good to expect at least 1 or 2 in a day of fishing that are over 3 pounds.
Hey, that's awesome. So my question for you is, why are the larger fish congregating in certain areas?
There's usually naturally forming structures for them to like just chill out and prey on the other smaller fish. So there's a lot of underwater trees, like fallen trees, and then some cover like that. And that's usually where they congregate. There's also an old beaver hut. They really like the old beaver hut.
Yes, they do. That whenever I go to electrofish a lake, the first thing I'm asking is there any old beaver dams? Because when we pull up with electricity, that's where we can fill up the tank with a bunch of fish
Yep.
real quick. But the reason why I ask you that question is so what you're telling me is the reason why there's big fish there is because it's probably the best spot for them to efficiently capture prey. And so sometimes it's kind of hard to create that. There's a disconnect with a lake owner about how a bass would grow, and they don't put two and two together that a bass needs a good ambush spot to efficiently capture prey. And in a lake, you're going to always consistently catch the bigger fish in those best ambush spots. So you want to learn what those are, and you want to replicate it. Instead of just having 3 areas in a whole lake, you're actually limiting yourself to growing big fish if you have limited ambush points. Because a bass that is not hunting by an ambush point is what I call a roamer. Has to roam around and chase down food and eat it. And that bass is going to actually eat more fish, but yet not grow very big. So you want to have, if you want to grow big trophy bass, you want to have ambush points, like literally about every 75 yards. Actually, not even yards. Let's just go on this is a bigger body of water than, like a 2-acre pond. So a 2-acre pond, we're going to put one every 50 feet, 75 feet. But a 200-acre lake and a 20-acre lake and whatever size the lakes are, it's about 50, let's say 50 yards. You're going to want to have a good ambush point, and you can grow that many more big fish.
Okay, and then my last question is you were talking about how sometimes the bass will outgrow their the prey.
The population.
Yeah, the population of the prey. Something that I've observed when going out there is that the largemouth bass will actually feed on younger largemouth bass. And would that be maybe a possible explanation as to why they're doing that, or is that just something natural for them?
Well, they're going to feed on whatever's the most efficient for them to feed on. So a fish is actually a very good hunter. They want to be as efficient as possible. That's why it's better to catch them in low light situations. So early in the morning, late in the evening, that's when fish are going to go on the prowl, because they know their chance of success is so much higher. So a fish is going to learn the key times of the day, throughout the day, the key ambush points. Like if you created an area in a lake where at high noon every day you dropped in, let's say 25 injured bluegill, okay, you would change the feeding patterns of the bass in that lake. They would learn that, they would adapt to it, and they would be ready to do their feeding at high noon in that particular spot on that particular lake.
Yeah.
And so that's just an example that's far out there, but it shows you that fish adapt to their situation and they learn what's going to fill their tummy.
Yeah, you can also see that because a lot of the people on that lake will feed the catfish periodically. So then the catfish will just know that it's about that time of day, and then they'll come up to the surface. So yeah.
Yep, that's a great observation. And an observation that I learned when I was young was on a couple of the lakes that I fished, the largemouth bass would always be hanging out below the boat, out in the middle of the lake, or out on a submerged area out in the lake. And I'm like, why are they always hanging out around the boat? Well, then it occurred to me, everybody is catching and releasing all these small fish, and sometimes that fish will drop on the bottom of the boat, kind of bang its head a little bit, and when you throw it in the water, it's just stunned just for a few seconds. Well, those bass learned that, all right, I'm going to follow this boat around. They're going to catch, 50 bluegills. I'm going to eat 7 of them, and I'm done. I can just hang out the rest of the day. I don't got to worry about working or doing anything else. That's all I got to do. And so then I learned, all right, there's always these bass. Like I'm reeling in a little bluegill and a big bass comes out to get it. So I learned, all right, when I'm out fishing in these particular lakes, I'm just going to let off about 15 feet of string, hook a big bluegill on, drop it down below the boat, and all of a sudden I'm catching 6-7 bass a day in that 3 to 5, 6 pound range. And I mean, that's just kind of, it took me a few years to figure out what was going on. Like I learned how to do it, but I didn't know the science behind it or the reasoning behind it. But now it's all, it's all coming together. All right, why are these fish doing what they're doing?
Yeah, I think that's all I have for you today, but it was a pleasure talking to you.
And so you fish at this place, so that's
Yes.
that's kind of exciting. And then what do you got? What do you got planned next?
It's a bit similar to everybody else's plan. Like Molly and Steven, I'll also be working at State Farm as I go throughout college. And then I'm going to finish up my associate degree at Heartland because I'm halfway through my associates currently. And then from there, I'll go to Illinois University.
Gotcha. Hey, it sounds awesome. I definitely am looking forward to meeting you on the 4th, and we'll talk in depth about the lake. It'll
And
be
then
fun.
another person that isn't here right now will be Adam Holzhauer, and he's also another person that lives on the lake, so you'll be able to talk to him also when you're here. Thank you.
Awesome. Yep, it's gonna be fun, guys.
How's it going? I'm Steve.
Steve? All right, I can see your shirt. but
Yep,
it's getting
I
a little
unplanned.
fuzzy. You're getting a little fuzzy, so I don't know if
Hold on, let me change it.
It's a State Farm. It's actually the internship shirt from last year. I worked there last year as well.
rock on. And you're the one. Okay, so it turned dark now.
I'm changing the lights so it's a little bit clearer.
Gotcha.
I had to take
It's a
your
little-
picture and
it's a
tweet
little
it out
fuzzy.
while we were doing this. The only way to get a good, clear picture was to change the lights. So sorry about that. Hey, I just got to tell you, your comment on the bluegill going into and dropping the bluegill and the bass. I was out in the ocean 2 years ago with Noah doing a research on reef habitats, and we would pick up 300-400 fish in a day, mainly black sea bass, and we had a slide out the side of the ship, and we called it the suicide slide because you released all the fish because they needed you to release the fish back in the habitat. But what ended up happening was the dolphins had figured us out, and the dolphins would follow us, and so it was a question of whether or not most of them never made it back to the bottom of the ocean because it was their trip down the suicide slide. So,
Yep, that's exactly right. The fish on the ocean pick up on all of that big time. So,
is it clearer now?
it's actually I can't I can't see like any detail. I can just see fuzz.
Probably just turn the
It might be the connection as well.
All right, we'll keep trying.
As long as I can hear you and there's not a big delay, we're good.
Yeah, it should work. All right, cool. So, as our class, we do a lot of community work, and so we're always looking for ways to get kids involved. And I know that you talked about you're going to start teaching your son to mow tonight, and growing up in the lifestyle that you are, just as you did when you were a kid, I'm sure they have a passion for the work that your business does and all the projects you do. And so I was wondering how you got them involved, as well as how would you give any tips for us to get the community involved and the kids excited about the environment?
Oh man, that getting kids involved in something is I guess in some ways it's a lot harder these days than just even, let's say, 10 years ago. And one example of that is I am actually looked upon as the black sheep in the neighborhood I live in, because I do let my kids do things like my son is 6 and he puts on his rain boots, which come up to his knees, and he puts on his safety goggles that he got part of one of his little construction kits, and he goes out and weed whips our yard. I bought a little battery Ryobi weed whipper from Home Depot that he can actually carry, and he weed whips our yard. But I'm looked upon as the black sheep because, I'm letting my kids do things that they could potentially get hurt at, or, is classified as unsafe in this day and age. And so actually a conversation I just had with my son was the neighbor has a boy his age, and his dad won't even let him learn how to mow till he's 14. And so it takes a lot of communication. Like, actually you can start learning, and my son's excited about it. He wants to learn how to mow. He wants to do that sort of thing. And so's the other boy. He's excited about it, but he has no opportunity because his dad, they want to protect him, keep him safe, and put him in no harm's way. Well, if my boys do make it through boyhood, they're going to be very capable young men of doing anything and everything. And that's kind of off the subject a little bit to what you're talking about. I have actually researched kid and community involvement quite a bit because I have a lot of clients who are very passionate about the outdoors, passionate about their properties and their land, but their kids don't want anything to do with it. So I realized right away there was a disconnect between the dads and the adults and the kids, and it's how the parents are raising the kids. Like they're not getting them involved. So like when the dad that's passionate about the kids wants to get them into fishing, he just drags them along all day when he goes fishing, but he's fishing focusing on himself and not on the kids. And so they don't have fun, so they don't want to go out and do it, and in return they don't learn anything about the outdoors. So for me, when I take my kids fishing, I make it entertaining. I only take them fishing for 15 minutes, not for 5 hours. So I take them fishing for 15 minutes, then we go throw rocks, then we go catch frogs. We end up spending 4 hours around the lake, but only 15 minutes of it was actually fishing. And how that would relate to community involvement is it's going to take a lot of organization, a lot of thoughts, a lot of game planning on your guys' end to make that first event fun, organized, informative, and something that people can feel like they accomplished something, but yet had a lot of fun in the meantime. So I don't have any like specific information, but just some background. You got to keep it fun, you got to keep it informative, and still accomplish something.
So in your opinion, would you say it's almost more effective to educate the parents on how to get their kids involved rather than the kids directly?
I think you can bypass the parents as long as you follow the safe protocol of what they would typically have for their kids. Like I think you can definitely impact kids directly, but you have to have the organization and have to have the parent support, to do it. And I did have, while I was talking, I had a thought, but it left me. So
happens all the time.
It left me. But this is actually a very interesting and important topic because it doesn't just relate to fish and fishing or community involvement with habitat. It relates with how to impact people in general. So whatever job you have. I remember my thought. It's not about efficiency. When you're first introducing people to stuff, it's not about efficiency. So like with me, my son will say he's smart enough to realize, Dad, you could actually do this a little bit faster if I wasn't here helping you. So he's even realizing that, but it's not about doing it faster. It's about doing it so that he learns how to do it, whatever it is. If we're putting something together, if we're working on a project, if we're helping the community, if we're on a mission trip, whatever we're doing together, it's about the experience together, the opportunity to teach him and to teach him about efficiency, but it's not about the moment. Most people focus on in the moment. So if you create an event, you're going to focus on how do we get the most work done with the manpower that we have in the moment. But you're missing out on the relationship and the team building and just the overall experience by focusing on that end result. You still want to have a good end result, but you can throw efficiency out of the side when you're trying to get people involved, engaged, and build for the future. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's just kind of that's just kind of what.
Yeah, no, that really helps out. So another one of the many projects we do here is we study the effects of chemicals and drugs, specifically pharmaceutical drugs, on water. And so something we found is that over time, some species start to die out or gain deformities because of these chemicals. And so I was wondering if throughout your business, if you've ever found some type of abnormal fish in the waterways you were working on.
You know, we find abnormal fish all the time, and probably so much that it's not really abnormal. And it's hard to just explain or figure out exactly why, a fish is growing a big, tumor, or, has a deformed face, or has, actually what we've learned also is just the fish food that we feed fish has over time caused, real big bloated, fatty livers and just extra fat inside of them, and they actually only live about 3 to 4 years. So that's something that we've been feeding fish directly that we've noticed impacts their health and their lifespan, and we're working with those companies that are making those foods to make it better. We don't, like in the aquaculture industry, it's all about growing a fish to get to marketable size, and then they kill it and they eat it. And that's what most of the fish food is based off of. Well, in the pond, in lake world, we want that fish to live 10 years, not 2 years. So we want to feed it a healthy life, a healthy diet. And on your question on, have I noticed an impact, on just, I guess, impurities or, stuff, I'll just use stuff entering the water. Yes, but do we have the scientific research to know what it is, when it is, why it is? No, we don't. But one thing we always analyze is where does the water come from? So every pond and lake is different because the watershed, the water that leads into it, is different for every body of water. If you have a pond that's downstream from a cattle operation, you're going to have a lot different water coming in than a pond that is downstream from a pharmaceutical company, and where they discharge whatever they discharge. So that there's always differences. I can't say in my line of work it pays the bills to do that sort of research, but it's definitely something on our mind all the time. And in your body, I mean, just think about it in your body. I mean, there's so much stuff going in your body. Every time you even pop an Advil, that's something going in your body that you should definitely take very seriously.
So I know that you talked about how you grew up around construction, you grew up around the outdoors, and so that kind of helped you transition into the career path you took. And so doing that kind of work, you have to have a passion for what you do. So I was wondering, what do you have around your property, or your what projects have you done for your personal life that you like to have for fun?
Okay, well that's where we gain a lot of our experiences. And one thing I failed to mention, it's not just me in this business. I'm actually just the one that does all the talking, but it's my brothers and brother-in-laws and sisters and parents that do all of the working, like that actually are behind the scenes that make everything possible. So we're a very close family, and my younger brother Justin, he's very good at machines and equipment. He can take stuff apart. I can destroy stuff, but I can't take it apart, and I for sure can't put it back together. Jared, he's really good at the land management, growing stuff, growing food plots, growing crops, utilizing the land stuff. My older brother Chad is big into development, so he's really good at knowing where to put septics, waters, electrics, where to position a house, where to position a cabin, how to develop. He's one of the best in the state. So we're very blessed to have completely different skill sets. I'm not even going to get into my skill set because I don't even know what it is. But I've got, and then my brother-in-law Dave, he works with us. He's very meticulous, very detailed, very good at finishing stuff. He can do I don't have the patience to, do the little intricate stuff, and that's where he comes into play. So for us, what gets us a lot of our experience is actually our personal property. We bought a lake as a family in 2003, and it was an old slurry. That's where they used to wash all of the coal. They used to wash all the coal in this slurry and from all the strip mines around. So we turned that property into a very fun place for our family to get together. So we built a beach, we cleaned up the water, we worked really closely with the EPA to get all that right, and we started building a pavilion, building a lodge, build a water slide, build a zip line, a rope swing, a double-decker jump dock. So over the last 12, 13 years, every year we're just building something. And then now as we're all having kids, we've got 18 kids, ages 1 to 12 between us all, and so we're always building stuff, with and for them to all get together and enjoy this property. So we've gained a lot of experiences from those projects.
That's
and
awesome.
Then when we build something for ourselves, a client comes, they see it, and we build it for them.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot. That's all I've got.
And so you're the one who's been to the State Farm rec center place?
Yeah. My dad has worked there since I was a kid, and then I had the internship last year as well, so I've been there quite a bit.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, great to meet you.
Thanks a lot.
How's it going? My name's Seth.
What's happening, Seth? How you doing today?
Good, how about yourself?
Oh, I'm fantastic.
So, I am also a fisherman. I fish local ponds and lakes around here. So, one of my questions was, what's one of the biggest fish that you've caught in your lifetime?
Well, the biggest fish that I've caught is a 156-pound yellowfin tuna off the coast of Venice, Louisiana.
Wow.
But my wife has actually caught a 253-pound halibut off the coast of Homer, Alaska. And so it is my life's mission to, before the day I die, I need to catch a bigger fish than her.
That's awesome. I actually went deep sea fishing this past winter break. My family went to Jamaica, and we got to catch some smaller yellowfins than you caught.
Hey, those yellowfins, they fight hard,
They
man.
do.
They're awesome.
Yeah, so what is one of the cooler projects that you have done in your construction business?
Oh, man. You know what? You're going to have to watch Season 2 of Lake Life on May 3rd because it's really exciting. That pushed us to our limits, and we built some really, really cool stuff. So I'm gonna leave you hanging on that one and let you watch Season 2. Starts May 3rd. There's some pretty cool stuff.
Oh,
But I will tell you, yesterday was real cool. I went to go shock a guy's lake, actually the day before yesterday, shock a guy's lake in Evansville, Indiana, and I've been helping him for 3 years. I pull up to the property, and there is the lead singer to the band called the Newsboys, and they just did the movie God's Not Dead 2, so I got to hang out with him all day. And then also another guy that was there was the chairman of the board for Interstate Batteries. So you asked the question of just interesting stuff. Well, I just get excited to meet interesting people. And so not only did I shock their lakes, but I taught them how to fish. We cleaned all of their fish, and then we had a big fish fry with them that night. So it's really cool to meet interesting people and learn from them. I mean, when I meet somebody, I'm just learning from them, which is pretty exciting.
If you're talking about interesting, wait till you meet Mr. Ritter. So, one of my final questions is, you might leave me hang on this one too, but What is one of the stranger things that someone's asked you to build or do on their lake?
One of the stranger things. We've been asked to build, out on the water. So we've built like floating cabins and floating stuff out on the water, which is pretty cool. We've been asked to do like an underwater room, that you can enter from above, walk down the steps, and then just be a glass room in the bottom of the lake, which we're still trying to figure out the best way to pull that off. But I think we'll end up figuring that out, and that potentially could be a season 3 type of thing on Lake Life.
Oh, that's really cool.
So, yeah, it is pretty cool. And then another one is like a basement. So a floating cabin with a glass basement, but the basement actually goes in the water to where you could have your bed and look around, and it'd be glass, all around. It would be pretty cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so what do you got going on? So you're a fisherman, and you going to fishing college, or?
No, but this summer I will be going for 10 days in Canada with my grandpa to go fish for walleye and northern pike.
That right there is going to be an experience that will change your life.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just enjoy the beauty of Canada and the company of your grandfather, I mean, those types of trips, that's invaluable. That's pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait. But I'm going to college at Monmouth College to study economics, and I'm playing football and baseball at Monmouth.
Oh, that's sweet. What position do you play?
Well, in high school I played quarterback and free safety, but I'm just going to play free safety at Monmouth.
Okay. Awesome. Well, it's great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. One last person for you.
Awesome. Hey, when does class get out?
9:30.
Oh man, so we got plenty of time. I was gonna try to do you guys a favor and maybe run it 10 minutes past or something, but
Hi, my name's Zach, and I'm a senior here.
What's happening, Zach? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. One of my questions is that I know you guys are a Midwestern company, but since the TV show, your client base has had to have grown. So I was wondering if you guys ever done anything outside the Midwest.
Oh yeah. Before I answer your question, what do you got on your shirt? I can't quite see it.
Oh, I'm part of a law class here at my high school, and we have sort of job shadowing. We job shadow around the community, so we'll go to police stations, courthouse, probation, and just ask them any questions that we want and to see how they got in the career field. And it just gives us a better insight on the career itself.
Gotcha. And so law, I mean, like, is that something you want to get into? Is like law enforcement, or like law, like a lawyer law?
Like law enforcement.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's much cooler.
Yeah.
People will like you better, I guess. Okay, so brush me up on your question, because I've got a very short-term memory.
I knew you guys are a Midwestern company. I was wondering if you guys did anything outside the Midwest.
Yeah, so what we do outside the Midwest is basically consulting. So we actually have a form on our website that people can fill out. It's called a fish and pond analysis. And people fill that out every day from, Florida, Texas, Alabama, California, all over. They fill that out, and then they answer questions about their pond, and then we give them advice and products, basically, to purchase based upon their situation. So that's a very popular thing. We ship stuff out all over the country every day of the year. So we're shipping pond and fish supplies to people all over, which is real cool. And that leads to consultations. So we consult basically outside of the Midwest. Now we have done some lake life projects down in Gulf Shores, Alabama, cool. And we're working on one for a guy down in Dallas, Texas. He wants a floating tiki hut bar/boat that he can have on his lake, and take 15 people with a tiki hut looking thing, and they can just go drive around and fish and hang out and have fun on it. So we're looking at doing that down in Dallas, Texas this winter. But as far as client base, we go regularly from Lincoln, Nebraska, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Chicago, Indianapolis, then Southern Illinois, St. Louis, everything around us here in Central Illinois.
That's really awesome.
So next week we'll be in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and we will be shocking and analyzing 13 different properties over the course of 3 days, which will be a long road trip, but we're going to squeeze it all in.
All right. Now, about the shocking the lakes, one of my questions was, what kind of conditions have to be set for you to actually shock a lake, like weather and terrain?
Okay, so shocking the lake, everyone is different. Typically, to start with, you want the water temperature to be 60 degrees to 75 degrees, and the fish will be up on the shoreline. So the more fish that are up on the shorelines, the more fish we're going to see. That doesn't mean we can't go shock, 2 weeks ago when we started shocking for the year. It just means we have to interpret those results differently. And I'll make a more extreme example that maybe will help you.
All right.
If the bluegills are all spawning up in 3 foot of water, and we go shock a lake, and we pull up the bluegill spawning beds, and we shock 3,000 bluegills over the course of 30 minutes, that's going to be a lot different. That doesn't mean, this is the best bluegill lake around, because we could shock that same lake 3 weeks earlier, and all the bluegills could be, a good proportion of them could be in 12 foot of water, and we may sample 30 bluegills and be looking at a sample of 30 bluegills and a sample of 3,000 bluegills, but it's the same lake. But I can interpret that data and know, based on the weather and the time of year and the weather of the day, what I should be seeing, and I can look at the body condition of those fish and tell if they're overpopulated or not. So I might actually sample 30 bluegills in the lake and say, you know what, you guys are totally inundated with bluegills and you need to harvest back tons of bluegills. Or I could sample 3,000 bluegills and say, you know what, you guys are actually pretty low on bluegills and I wouldn't harvest any bluegills for the next 2 years. So it's not about exactly the amounts of fish that we're seeing. It is exactly about what you just said, the weather conditions, the time of year, the time of day, even the weather pattern. If we shock following a cold front, we're not going to get nearly as many fish as if we shock on a warming trend, on the third or fourth day of a warming trend. So we got to pay attention to all of that information.
All right. So my final question it's more of a personal question for me. I like to eat fish. It's one of my things that I do. And I was wondering, what's the best kind of tasting fish that you ever had?
Okay, so my favorite fish to eat is actually mahi-mahi.
Oh, yeah.
From the ocean. And then, my top 10 is all from the ocean. I love mahi-mahi. I love halibut. I love yellowfin tuna. I love flounder. I love pompano. All of those fish from the ocean, those are my favorite. But then when I get into freshwater, it's going to be yellow perch, walleye, hybrid striped bass, smallmouth bass, which, we don't really eat very many of. And then moving into the crappies and bluegills.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yellow perch is my favorite because it's not a big, thick fish. You can clean it real fast, real easy, and it's just the perfect size fillet to cook. When you catch a big walleye, a lot of times you strip it down. You don't want to cook a big, thick chunk of meat. So we just kind of strip it down and cook it like that. But yellow perch, hands down, my favorite.
All right, thanks.
Yep, and so did you tell me where you're going? Where you're going after high school?
Right now I'm enlisted in the Air National Guard out of Peoria, and I'll be going to basics soon in July 5th, and then after that I'll go to college at Western to study law enforcement, criminal justice.
Awesome, and my main fisheries biologist, Tad Locker, he actually graduated from Western. So again, if you got any questions about Western, shoot us over an email. He can help you out with any of those questions.
All right, cool. Thanks for talking to me.
Yep. Hey, it's great to meet you.
You too.
I have one more question for you.
You got it. And this is Molly, right?
No, Megan.
Megan, right?
Yeah. So at the
Hey,
lake,
you know what? I had a 50-50 shot. You can just go with it.
yeah. So at the lake, there is a weed called milfoil that every year everybody struggles with having it get stuck in the motors of the boats or the jet skis or something. Is there a way to decrease the amount of milfoil that is produced?
For sure. There's a lot of ways. Some of them will apply to your situation, and some of them won't. There are a lot of products that are specifically designed to kill milfoil and only milfoil. So the number one product for that is called Navigate, and it comes in a granules. So if it's just out in front of like your dock in your area, you can just scoop out some Navigate, throw it out on there, and it will kill the milfoil right there where you put it. Then another thing you can do is you can stock a lot of grass carp. Now that may or may not apply to your situation. There may be just too much milfoil all across the lake, and you're only just worried about in your little area. So that grass carp may not be an option. It's just another tool that could be an option, is to stock a lot of grass carp. Then another thing you can do is you can actually physically remove it. So after you're done sunbathing and you're really hot, you can jump in and actually go underwater and just start pulling that stuff out, clear your area, and you're good to go for a good month or so.
Yeah.
But there are other weed, like there's weed razors, weed rakes. You can throw out, pull it, cut it. And that's just talking about your area specifically. But there are herbicide treatments that you can do across the whole lake as well. And when you're talking about water milfoil, there's actually a beetle that many companies are experiencing or experimenting with to actually go in and kill just water milfoil. And actually you can do a little bit of research. It's a beetle, not a beetle. It's a beetle. And they're actually experimenting with that. I'm not saying that's, something you're going to go out and just, buy a whole bunch of, beavles and get them shipped in. But that is a big issue going on around the country, especially with Eurasian water milfoil. And it just is, it's an invasive. It's not a natural native vegetation. It's kind of sweeping across and taking over. It grows out in really deep water too. Yeah. But no, and that's what we'll talk about. Before I can just give out like exact what to do in your situation, that's part of what we'll be investigating while we're there, is all of the issues, that people have on the lake, and we'll come up with, here is, based upon our observations and all of our conversations, here's what we suggest for your situation.
Well, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Hey, Nate. Wow, what a great day, and it's exciting. I found myself while I was listening to you, watching the kids, and the fact that they're very much in tune. But one of the things that in tune with what you had to say, but one of the things I want to point out, and we started this project called 20 Questions with 2 years ago. Megan and I were just sitting there talking before, and one of the things that we both agreed on, and I think everybody else will too, in the number of Skype sessions that we have done with a large number of people who are leaders in the industry in what they do, people who are the number one at what they do, whether it be Aaron Brockovich or Jan Schlickman or Tyrone Hayes or whoever that we've talked to. You're the first person that cared, and I'm not speaking negatively of them, but you're the first person who cared to take the time to ask each of them, hey, what's up? I want to get to know you. And I think that speaks volumes about who you are, not only as a person, but what you do. And I just wanted to commend you for that, because we were sitting there, and normally it's a situation of they ask a question, and okay, let me see how to answer this. Okay, get to the next one. You had a statement about it's not about efficiency. It's about taking the time, and maybe it's 15 minutes of fishing. Today it wasn't 15 minutes of fishing. Today it was 2 minutes of, hey, tell me about yourself, because it really made a difference in a lot of ways. And I wanted to tell you that. That's spot on, man. I mean, kudos to you. And we're excited. I actually, for the first time, have a question. I have never asked a question to any of the previous. I've said a lot, but I've never ever said. You'll find that I just keep going, and my kids know that, and especially when Seth made a statement how interesting, and then Connor chose to use my first name in class, so that was but no, everything's good. But my question, obviously, you have developed a skill set to understand aquatic life, understand dynamics of habitat, and understand everything that's going on. You are very much in tune with the natural environment and how to make sure that we are able to perpetuate it in such a way that it is going to be better than you left it. We are seeing, obviously, an influx of invasive species. And my question for you is, how much, I'm wanting to say this right, how often are you seeing invasive species being an impact on a aquatic community, whether it be zebra mussels or milfoil or whatever? What are we truly seeing in Illinois? Because obviously, the Asian carp population gets a very, very noted recognition because of the impact of possible of getting it into Lake Michigan or other impacts on macroinvertebrates and microinvertebrates, and how it could disrupt the entire fishing industry if it were to get in there. What's the boots on the ground? What are we really seeing? And I question, after being with Mark at the quarry, and I too have spent a lifetime at that quarry, but I question the impact of invasive species, and I just want your take on Illinois as a whole, okay, or maybe just Central Illinois. But we want the true story, and I think often we get a skewed story to whatever the media is in tune to at that point.
Well, it's a great question. So invasive species, they definitely impact their environments, and what they do is they change.
Yeah.
They change the environment, they change the stuff. So when change comes about, some of it's for good, some of it's for bad. Or when change comes about, it could be for bad until you turn it into good. So, and that's kind of a general broad statement, but in Illinois, there's invasive species. Right now, Phragmites, it looks like cattails, but it's Phragmites, is sweeping across everybody's lake and pond, and it is choking out the shorelines, around.
Is that also known as Johnson grass?
It could be. It's not a name that I'm familiar with, okay, but it's just kind of a reed.
Yeah, it's that tall reed that you see. Yeah.
Yep, and it'll have a little decorative grass head on the top, and it in some cases it looks really nice, but it's choking out everything along the shoreline. So that is an invasive. It's coming through. Now, does that mean because that invasive is coming through, now the fishing's just going to be terrible in this lake, and we have to spend $10,000 getting rid of this thing? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that there are going to be environmental impacts, and some for the good, some for the bad. And that's like that with your Asian water milfoil. It actually completely damages the natural ecosystem of choking out your native vegetation, which is very important for your fish. But what we're having to do is we're having to learn how to manage with Eurasian water milfoil, because in most cases it's not economically possible to eliminate it.
Sure.
And if you do, it's a battle where it's going to come back. Water milfoil reproduces by fragmentation. So if somebody brings in even one little piece, it's back again.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very expensive to remove. So we have to you have to deal with what you've been dealt. You got to make a mountain out of a molehill. You've got to figure out the impact of what is happening and create something out of it and utilize it. Some cases it's easy, some cases it's not. To me, I'm really not concerned with Asian carp in Lake Michigan, but I would be very concerned with Asian carp in Lake Erie.
Yeah.
Because the habitat of Lake Erie is very desirable for Asian carp. The habitat in Lake Michigan, not so much. And you can look up the differences. You know, Lake Erie is very shallow, very fertile, very full of food for Asian carps. Lake Michigan is very deep, very clear, very cold. They're not gonna want to be in there. But getting into Lake Erie, that will definitely change things. Now in Lake Michigan, you know, with zebra mussels and all that stuff happening, and gobies, you know, like it's impacting the lake tremendously. But because of those gobies, now we're having better smallmouth bass fishing than at any other time in our lifetime, in our existence. You know, Lake Michigan, it's impacting, you know, the yellow perch and, you know, the salmons and all that stuff, but something else is going to come in. It's going to be a change, and it is changing fast. So invasive species, I mean, it's been going on since we came to America.
That's right.
You know, we've been invading it, and things aren't going to stay the same. They're always going to change, and you need to be able to change with it.
Adapt, yeah. Very good. Well, we look very much to May the 4th. We look very much to meeting you in person. We look very much to learning from you, watching you work. Hopefully we can participate in some valuable manner. I think that the opportunity that we have as a class is incredible. It's not an opportunity, like I've said, that most people get. And so we appreciate that. We appreciate your family. I know everybody's sitting here waiting to see the premiere of season 2 now because of your little teaser that you gave us. And, you know, I can't be more thankful to you, Nate. I know it took a little bit of your time, and I know that the time that you took will pay dividends to our kids down the road. So I'm forever grateful to you for that. And I look forward to meeting you in person, and I think we're going to have a great time. So with that, we'll let you go. But I just can't be more thankful. So I hope you have a great day. I hope the rain stops. What? Oh, crap. We almost forgot the picture. I always forget this part. So
wait, before we get to the picture, it's mutual. Thank you guys, all of you guys out there. Thank you very much. It was an awesome opportunity for me to just connect back with your generation, which is pretty cool. So thank you. You guys have a great day. Let's get that selfie rolling.
All right, hold on. So I'm going to get everybody up there. So here's how this goes. I'm going to get them all on one side of the board, and then basically all you have to do is whether you can just smile. We've had people do stupid stuff before, but whatever you want, and they're changing. Look, there you go. That was good. So I've already put your picture up on the internet twice we tweeted it out a couple times. And by the way, I'm just going to point out, Megan, so they're not supposed to have cell phones in class, right? So here's what happens. I noticed that all of a sudden my phone goes off because I follow Megan's tweets. And guess who retweeted me? Megan. So I know her phone was out. So hold on. We're going to get everybody together. Get in nice and tight, guys. You can't get that far. Oh, they're getting in there. Hold on. All right, get in. And then I'm probably going to take a couple of them. I'll just yell smile so you don't have to like get all your face muscles all yeah. All right, hold on. That's a good one. Oh, that's too dark. All right, hold on. mean mug now. Here we go. 1, 2. Perfect. That was so awesome, dude. So awesome. All right. Hey, we'll let you go. Once you have a great day, we look forward to seeing you. And tell your family thank you for letting us have a little bit of your time.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good day at school.
All right. We'll see you.